One of the greatest tragedy in the modern world is that many people have lost the sense of mission. People no longer have patience to find out what is God asking me to do. Where am I coming from? Where am I? And where am I going? Some preachers today hardly remember to talk about the four last things. Many talk about life, abundant life, prosperity. But only a few today still remember to talk about purgatory and hell, and maybe heaven too. The Catholic Church used to talk about limbo. But now, that doctrine of the limbo, you hardly hear the church talking about it anymore. And of course, what is limbo? Limbo is a state of children who were born, but they died before they were baptized. Whereas purgatory is a state of people who die, whose fate is known to God alone. And hell is the state of those who reject God completely, who refuse to serve God, and who condemn themselves, because God does not condemn anyone. The moment you refuse to assent to the will of God, the sin of the devil is, I will not serve. Whereas heaven are those who have persevered through suffering, and they were conscious of the last day, and they are able to make it to heaven. In the Old Testament, to prepare prophets and priests who would deliver the message of salvation, who would let the people know what it takes to reach heaven, there were various schools that people were trained. But these schools were not like the former classroom schools we have today. Sometimes a child may be attached to a sage or a prophet, and will be following that sage and prophet. And there is something they used to call the footprint of the master. So when the master is in the front, the apprentice who is learning will size his leg, just be marching according to the feet of the master. But later we had different schools, the school of Hillel. We have the rabbinic schools, where children were taught about the tradition of the Jews. They were taught about the Torah, the history. In African tradition, we had this form of education, where children were gathered, especially under the moonlight, and the old people tell them stories. A week before my mother died, I didn't know that he was going to die. I preached in the church, and I used a story that he had told me. So later he said, Father, you made a mistake in that story. Come, let me tell you the story again. And he used an expression, Ale Devi. You never can tell. So I decided to go and get a cameraman, and she put into that tape the stories as much as she could. And I played it again yesterday, and I found myself with those memories again. I listened to Femi Falana yesterday when he was responding to a lecture. And there is an aspect of his speech that touched me so deeply. And he talked about how we train our children, that in their time, children learn to speak English in the schools. And so he made it a rule in his own house that nobody speaks English in the house. When you get to school, you learn your English. And that is why today all his children, they speak Yoruba language in Parados. And many of us, we learn English language in schools too. So, the stories that we were told as children, they were preparing us to be true Africans, to be true indigenous Africans. So this is what we're trying to make to understand today in the first reading. Elisha was a disciple of Elijah. The seminary that Elisha went to is to listen to the voice of Elijah, to practice the ways of Elijah. And I see today's first reading as a form of ordination, which was administered by the master himself, Elijah, before he parted this world. And this is what is narrated to us in the first book of the Kings. The Lord said the Elijah, supposed to be the Lord said to Elijah, I think there's a mistake here. Go and anoint Elisha, son of Shaphat, of Abel Meholah, as prophet to succeed you. In other words, here there is something we must get straight. Elisha was not the son of Elijah. But God has told you somebody is going to succeed you. And of course, as you see in the New Testament, when the kings like Herod will want to kill somebody who was revealed to him to be the next king of Israel, he carried out God's instruction, and this is how he did it. Living there, Elijah came on Elisha, son of Shaphat, as he was plowed behind 12 yoke of oxen, himself being with the 12. Elijah passed near to him and threw his cloak over him. Though they said the habit does not make a mark, but the habit helps us to recognize a mark. So Elisha, as it were, knew the meaning of that. And he quickly told Elijah, please, let me kiss my father and mother. Then I will follow you. So he knew that he has been given a vocation. He has been given an apostolate of a kind of, you will not return again to your parents. You have to follow me now. And this is where I pity the popes. A pope, they are going to elect a pope, the consistory. All the cardinals, they gather their things. Maybe a few things that will last them for the period of the consistory. And they will go to they enter the conclave, waiting for the white smoke to appear. And all of a sudden, there is a white pope and there is an announcement, Abemus Papa. We've got a pope. The man who came from Argentina, who must have left some assignment with his people, hoping that he will come back after the consistory, is conscripted. He cannot go back immediately to go and take his things. No send for party. He remained there in the Vatican and he continued the mission of the papacy. And this is where the message of detachment is very powerful. You know, the last consistory, we were told that it was after the consistory that Pope Francis went back to the hotel he slept and paid the bills. He didn't presume, I'm not the Pope. He went back to pay the bills. So, in a like manner, Elijah said, let me go back home. Let me go and kiss my people. Let me go and tell my people goodbye. Elijah said, what have I done to you? So, Elisha turned away, took the pair of oxen and slaughtered them. And this is a symbol of sacrifice. In other words, he's ready, he's willing to make sacrifice. Because to be a good missionary, you need to make sacrifice. He then rose and followed Elijah and became his servant. It's a beautiful call. Then the gospel reading, Jesus was going to Jerusalem. And this was going to be his last journey to Jerusalem. Why was he resisted by the Samaritans? First, they knew that he was going to make the supreme sacrifice. And at that journey is like going to a land of sin me no more. And of course, he had already told Peter, get behind me, say that. So they resisted Jesus going to Jerusalem. I will not see this as a kind of hatred because Jesus Christ did not do anything inimical to the Samaritans. He was the one who came to, as it were, reconcile the conflict between the Samaritans and the Jews by using the parable of the Good Samaritan in his earthly preaching. And of course, as it goes on, the disciples who did not understand wanted to cast down fire on the people. And Jesus Christ said, no, just follow me. So it is in this process, because Jesus knows I'm going to make the last journey now. So he needs followers. And these are the method he used. The first person volunteered. He didn't call him. He volunteered. He said, I will follow you. And Jesus said, foxes have holes, and the birds of the air have nests. But the Son of Man has nowhere to lay his head. In other words, he's telling him the implication of this decision to follow. We are living in a world today, especially in the Catholic Church, where some parents desire that their children become priests by all means. Whereas there are others who want to become priests, the parents say no. So this first encounter is to tell us that it is God who calls. It is not your will. You say, I want to be a disciple of Christ. I want to be a priest. No. It is a call and a response phenomenon. The second one, Jesus made the call. He said, follow me. Like the encounter between Elisha and Elijah. He said, let me go and bury my father first. But they answered, leave the dead to bury their dead. Your duty is to go and spread the news of the kingdom of God. Then the last one, that one came voluntarily again. I will follow you, sir. But first, let me go and say goodbye to my people at home. Jesus now said, once the hand is laid on the plow, no one who looks back is fit for the kingdom of God. This reminds me of the journey to the priesthood. Many of us priests, the things we see in the process of training, if God has opened them up for us, bam, the implications, the pains, the loneliness, the aloneness, the abuses, the insults we are going to receive from becoming priests. Some of us will not go in. But God leads you gradually to the point that when you now know the implication of what you are going into, it's too late for you to go back. In Akwa Ibom, there was this priest who was a twin, and there is this old Catholic who still believes very strongly that he has no business with twins, that twins should be killed. Albinos should go. So this priest was this man was very sick. And the priest, this thing happened recently. In our time, when I say recent. So this priest who is a twin was going to anoint him. And he was talking, he didn't know the priest was a twin. So he was trying to tell the priest about the tradition of the Akwa Ibom people. That their people never accepted twins and they never accepted albino. And the priest now said, what if a priest who is a twin want to give you communion? Will you take? He said, God forbid bad thing. He said, God forbid bad thing. So, and the priest said, that means I cannot anoint you. He said, no, you can anoint me. Why not? He said, I'm a twin. He said, you mean you are a twin and you have been so nice to us in this parish? So he said, okay, Father now took his sickle back and he said, he now said, I am going. And the man started crying. He said, Father, please, part of my confession is that I hated twins. Forgive me. So you could see the embarrassment. Like now, I used to tell the priest, especially in the East, I said, what if your parish priest is Osu? Will you take communion from him? Till today, I don't think I've gotten a very reasonable answer. Because till today, some Christians still in the East do think that they should have anything to do with Osu caste. So, now, this last person has to follow Jesus, following all the conditions. The second reading is quite very inciting and interesting. So Paul is writing to the Galatians. You know, if you look at the hierarchy of Paul's writings, Philippians were the beloved. He wrote really love letters to Philippians. But Galatians was very hard on them. To the extent that he called them, oh foolish Galatians. Who has bewitched you? And this is what he's telling them today. Say, my brothers, you were called, as you know, to liberty. You're called to freedom. But be careful, or this liberty will provide an opening for self-indulgence. Serve one another, rather in works of love, since the whole of the law is summarized in a single command. Love your neighbor as yourself. If you go snappy at each other, at learning, at tearing each other to pieces, you had better watch or you will destroy the whole community. Let me put it like this. If you are guided by the Spirit, you will be in no danger of yielding to self-indulgence. See, self-indulgence is the opposite of the Spirit. The Spirit is totally against such a thing. And it is precisely because the two are so opposed that you do not always carry out your good intentions. If you are led by the Spirit, no law can touch you. So how do we carry out this mission today? Jesus Christ ended his mission on the cross, his earthly mission. Are we ready to still suffer today for the cause of the gospel? Are we ready to accept insult for the cause of the gospel? I love this expression by Futishin that we are fools for Christ's sake. Apart from the priest, each of us here who are baptized, we are called in our own different ways. You are called to witness to Christ as a priest. You are a priest according to the order of Melchizedek. That is for the ministerial priests. A Catholic priest did something very unusual recently. A woman brought an envelope. It was not a tithe. And the woman told the priest, I am bringing you the first fruits. This is my first salary. I want you to bless it and use it. And the priest looked at the woman and discovered this woman does not really understand the meaning of tithe and first fruits. And he said, Madam, how much do you have in that envelope? He said, 80,000 naira. He said, how much is your transport money to work every day? He calculated it. Do you pay house rent? He said, yes. How much is your house rent? He calculated it. And they calculated the expenses, the expenditure of the woman, and discovered that every month, after all said and done, the woman has only 8,000 naira left. And he said, my dear sister, I will pray over this money. I will pray for you. And I will return the envelope to you. And the priest now added to the money so that the woman can have excess. So I gave it back to the woman. So the woman can't say, Father, no, you have added to the money. He said, yes. I discovered that you don't have enough. So I am giving you from the resources of the church to make you comfortable. And there is another story of a woman who used the only car. The husband has only one car. I use it to sow seed to a pastor. And this pastor was at the verge of giving the car out to a younger pastor. And the husband came, where is my car? He said, I use it to sow seed. Because the pastor told the woman that you should not, that your husband is another woman. You want to bring another woman. So you have to sow a very big seed. So the man now ran to the church and discovered the other pastor. Wow. He just snapped the key, saying, you are a thief. And he said, what is happening? The woman was there, everybody. And that is the kind of exploitation that some of the men and women of God are doing to poor people today. Let us know how to support one another in this mission. Because as a lay person, you come to the church. The offertory actually is to enable the priest to do the work of charity, to provide the things you need for the worship of God. And it's like harvest, for example. Harvest is not supposed to be launching. It's supposed to be, the resources of that harvest is to enable the priest to maintain the church and take care of the poor. And you are a king as a baptized Catholic. And as a king, you should be able to project the image of God in your office, to know what you need to do. And of course, as a prophet, you can look at the signs of the time and make your contribution to make the world a better place. Today, what is in vogue, not really in vogue, the crisis we have today is this Ruga crisis, settlement And some people are even posting that Rwanda has discovered a satellite to be able to train their children in school. But what Nigeria is still tracing cattle routes. And these are all the things. And some people are posting that I can't remember the country where plane cannot take off, land and take off from water. For Nigeria, we are still busy with cattle. Singapore, we are still busy with cattle route, Ruga. So, our mission, our various missions, should help us to make a better world. Should make us to let people know that this world is not our home, that we are only passing through. And at the end of the day, we will be able to experience the presence of God in our lives through Christ our Lord. Amen.